Okay, it's 10 o'clock. Good morning to everyone. This is Victoria Beal with the Ohio LTAP Center. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are very pleased to be presenting a webinar for you on the TIMS system, the Transportation Information Mapping System that's available to us here in Ohio. And our presenter this morning is Ian Kidner. He is the person responsible for this system here at ODOT, and I know that Ian has an excellent presentation planned for you this morning. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. If you have just joined us on the phone line, please, and I know the folks who've been on here for a while are tired of hearing me say this, but please do press the pound sign and the number 6 on your keypad to mute your phone line. We want to minimize any background noise for our presenter this morning. If you have a mute button on your phone, that works just the same. And then we will open the phone lines back up towards the end of the webinar for any questions that anyone might have. If you're not using your phone line, you're just listening to the webinar through your computer's audio system, that's fine as well. You'll be able to pose questions in the chat pod on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. So with that, Ian, are you unmuted and ready to go?
I think I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello? Okay, great. And can you see, is my presentation up and viewing?
I can see it. Hopefully everyone else
great.
can too. So.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and I'll go ahead and get started here.
Great. And Ian, one quick thing, if I do hear some background noise, I might jump in and interject again about how people can mute their phone lines. So otherwise, It's all yours. Thanks.
All right. Great. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, Victoria. And yes, my name is Ian, and I'm here from the Office of Technical Services to talk about TIMS, which is our Transportation Information Mapping System. This presentation is designed to help people who may be a little bit familiar with the site or completely unfamiliar, and help them become aware of what you can find at the site, what you can do at the site, and potentially some of the benefits that you could find and work into your work with the transportation system here in Ohio. I'm seeing some messages here, but people are not seeing the presentation.
Okay. For those of you who are not seeing the presentation, I'm not quite sure why you wouldn't be. It should be there in the middle section of the screen. But, you know, hang in and listen to the audio. Okay, we had a few people that said they've refreshed their page and it came back up automatically. So please try that. Try refreshing your page.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Should I just go on then and hopefully they catch up, or should I could switch my presenting? Okay.
No, just go ahead. Let's move forward. Anyone who's still continuing to have issues, you might want to refer back to the email that was sent out earlier. There is a link there for you to test your system to make sure that you have all the plugins necessary to be able to view the webinar this morning. But go ahead, Ian. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, just again, so the purpose of this presentation is to help people who are either have little familiarity or no familiarity with what the TIMS site is and how it could benefit you with your work with ODOT or throughout Ohio as working on the transportation system here. So that's the goal of the presentation today. The agenda is we'll do a site overview and talk a little bit about how you can navigate the site and some of the features and functionality available there. We'll talk about the information and content that's available in this site. And of course, some additional training and learning opportunities that we do have available. And then I'll do some demos of the site as well. And then, of course, we'll have some opportunity for questions. So the TIMS site is publicly available. You can access it through the web address that's in the upper right-hand corner of the pretty much all the slides in this presentation. And or you could go to the State of Ohio Department of Transportation homepage that you see here on the screen, And on the left-hand side, there's this featured items column, and if you scroll down a little bit further, you will see maps and reference, and there will be a link there to the TIMS homepage. And once you get there, it will look something like this. And so TIMS is basically it's a website that has a few different areas, and the whole purpose is to collect quite a bit amount of information from across ODOT and some external agencies and try to organize it into a single location to cut down on the amount of time and effort that people have to do to find this type of information and to help make it more reliable and more accessible so that it just improves our workflows as large groups of people who are trying to plan and implement and take care of transportation systems. This can be used if you're working with ODOT or if you're an agency that is related and you want to use this as your own mapping system. It's publicly available, and please feel free to use it however it suits your needs. When you get into the site, you'll notice there's the 6 main blue buttons, and then down in the lower right-hand corner, there are some additional tabs that take you to like a news page, an about page. There's some contact information. And there is a log-in secured portion of the site for certain people, mainly ODOT people and some externally available people. We have some secured content. So let's look a little bit at each of the areas of the site. The first area is our project search page. And for people who are familiar with ODOT, we have a database that we call ELLIS, and that's the database that we keep all the project information in for transportation projects going on in the state of Ohio. And this search page provides a view into that data. We pull in all the projects starting in 2003 and going forward to any future projects that have some type of committed funding. So there's quite a bit of information in there. You can search in there, and there's some slides later on, and hopefully I'll have time to do a demo of how that search page works also. The second area we call the Create a Map page, and this is essentially the interactive web map portion of the site. Here you can go into the page, you can activate different layers of information, different asset inventories or boundary layers, project layers also, lots of stuff there. And then you can perform some light analysis. You can create your own maps. You can share information. You can do quite a bit there. And that's a key component. The next area, data download. So this provides people the ability to download data sets in their entirety to a variety of formats, including Excel, KML, shapefile, and file geodatabase. This is so that if organizations or customers have their own GIS systems or they want to do more advanced analytics that this site does not provide, you can go ahead and download all those data sets for your purposes. The Create a Map does allow you to export selections of records or of data sets as well, as opposed to the entire data set. The standard PDF map area is a way to generate some standard template maps. So these standard templates right now include STIP maps, annual construction season maps, and other similar ones like that. I believe we have about 5 templates available at this time. They're pretty helpful for just seeing what's going on in a given area, and we're hoping to expand this area and make it a little bit more useful in the coming months. The next area, called the Map Viewers area, it is when you go into there, it looks a lot like the Create a Map page. It has it's interactive web maps, and they have all the same functionality as the main Create a Map page. But what we've done is we can focus the content there by particular area. So for instance, we've made a structures viewer for the Office of Structures who maintain our bridge information. And we have some custom kind of pre-canned commonly asked questions about bridges ready to go in a very simple click of a button. So for instance, you could see what are all the bridges that are structurally deficient, or what bridges still need their annual inspection. And you just click the button on and you see that information. And we have a number of map viewers publicly available at this time, and we're continuing to work on some more. I'll try to demonstrate some of those later on. And then finally, the last area of the site is the data glossary page. And here we recognized that you can publish a lot of information, but if people don't have some of the background information about those data sets, it's not as entirely useful as it could be. So for instance, lots of times you might get a file from an agency and you see you open it up in Microsoft Excel and you see all these different columns and you don't quite know what all these columns the information pertains to. Well, here we've hoped to solve that problem by providing a definition for every data set that's in TIMS and a definition for every field in those data sets. So you can see, okay, this data set describes the traffic volume or whatever the case might be. So that's the main overview. Yes?
This is Victoria. I'm going to jump in real quick if you don't mind. Just to remind everyone who's joined us on the phone line, if you could please mute your phone line by using your phone's mute button or press the pound sign, the number 6 on your keypad to minimize any background noise. We just heard someone coughing, so I know somebody's got their phone line unmuted right now. We would really appreciate that so we can make sure that we keep the background noise minimized for the rest of Ian's presentation. Thanks, Ian. Thanks for letting me jump in. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. All right, so we'll jump in here to some screenshots of the application. And here we're looking at the search page. So what happens is at the top of the page, there are a variety of different drop-down filters that you can use to whittle down or filter the results table at the bottom of the page. So for instance, in this screenshot, we see there's a total of 41,000 records coming from the Ellis database available in TIMS. And in this case, we're filtering down to see all the projects that are in Franklin County in District 6 during the fiscal year of 2016. And then what you can do is you can select multiple records and you could either view those in the map or you could export that information, or you could click on the magnifier glass for one of those records and you can go to the project information page, which provides more detail about that project. So here we see some information about where the project's located, who the project manager is, some of the milestones and award numbers. And if you scroll down towards the bottom of the page, we actually have links to the Office of Contracts where they have the project plans PDF documents. And I know that is very helpful for a lot of people to get access to that information. I'm going to move back to the previous screen to highlight something. You'll notice here, if you look at the PID or project ID column, you'll notice that sometimes you see PIDs repeated or duplicated. And if you're not familiar with how we organize projects here at ODOT, is lots of times we sell a project, and a project can have multiple work locations. So for the PIDs that we see here, there's at least 2 work locations for this 16707, and there's at least 3 for the 25594 PID. We're just not seeing all the results potentially right now. So when you click on those records and you go to the project information page, that should be the same for any of those duplicates. It just comes into play when you're trying to view that information on the map so you can see all the different work locations. But overall, for the TIMS site, the functionalities, you'll find it's pretty easy to use. Below the export data and download and view map, those buttons on the right-hand side in the middle of the page, there's a search box. And in there, you can do a free-form text search. So maybe you're just looking for any project that has bridge in it, because we have many different primary work categories that have bridge as part of it. So if you just want to search for all of those, you start typing the text bridge, and it will automatically, as you type that, narrow that down. It's a pretty helpful feature of the application. So let's move over here to how the Create a Map page is laid out. For people who've experienced web mapping applications, some of them, you go in there and you see a full-sized or full-page map, rather. When we designed this version of TIMS, we wanted the experience to be more of a web page view or feel. So what you have is a map window towards the top of the page, and then there's a toolbar menu in the middle, and that's that blue toolbar there. And then below there, as you interact with the menu bar, you configure those map tools below that. So you have a consistent